What is up guys, welcome back today to another video on this channel. Hope you're all doing amazing and fantastic. In this video I wanted to do a little bit of a breakdown of a series called The Maze Runner by James Dashner and why you should buy it right now. I'm going to compare it to so many other series in that particular genre, so let's jump right into it. Before we jump into the video, it takes a long time to make these videos and to come up with scripts for these videos, so it is super appreciated if you take the time out to subscribe. With that out of the way, let's jump into the video. So firstly, I want to break down a few categories of books. Books can be broadly and very broadly classified into two categories, which is fiction and non-fiction. So as we know, non-fiction is based on entirely real life events or based off of entirely real life events, whereas fiction has many different subcategories. So I focus on the fiction part of books in this video, so let's push the non-fiction out of the way. So in the fiction part, and these are just my categories, not any official categories. In the fiction part, it can divide into the following. One is fantasy, which is entirely fantasy and it is not believable at all. Like, you just can't believe that this kind of stuff can happen. Second is believable fantasy. For example, Harry Potter, where you can believe that this stuff is happening right now. And the third is entirely real fiction, which is taking place in this world, like maybe a story about a guy traveling to outer space using some specific scientific instruments. That can be possible, easily possible in this world, doesn't include anything you cannot believe. So these are the three subcategories of fiction. I'm going to give an example for every single one of them. So for the first of them, which is completely fantasy, it can be Shadow and Bone or the entire Grishaverse, like Six of Crows. In that, you just can't believe this is all happening because there's an entirely new set of words, new set of languages, new set of worlds. We are not mentioned. Our current race, our current human race is not mentioned. That book is not like based off of the fact like once upon a time this place was New York City and now it's a barren wasteland or something like that. Straight up new world created. An example of believable fantasy can be Harry Potter or my all-time favorite fiction book, Artemis Fowl. In Harry Potter, they have clearly shown that the wizards have many different methods of keeping the wizarding world hidden from muggles like us. So it's super easy to believe that they are implying these techniques right now, and maybe they do exist out there, just we don't know about them. And lastly is the completely realistic fiction, which is, take for example George's Secret Key to the Universe by Stephen Hawking. It talks about a young kid and his friend who travel into space by using a wormhole portal created by a small computer, a supercomputer that they have at their house. So none of that is magical or has like properties of once upon a time this was there, now we fight using this magic, dark magic and that kind of stuff. Completely believable. NASA, etc., etc. are included in that book, the Big Bang and everything. It's completely scientific, yet it's still fiction, not at all factual. You can't use that book as a reference in some kind of lecture or some theory which you're writing. So here are the three subcategories of books. Now, Maze Runner is a category of a book which I find extremely amazing, and here's why you should buy it. It doesn't fit in either one of those categories individually. It comes under a category which you can believe and at the same time you completely can't. Let me try and explain. So these are the four books in the Maze Runner series. It starts from The Maze Runner, The Scorch Trials, The Death Cure, and Kill Order. So these are four books which are really interesting. It's just a wonderful emotional roller coaster, thrilling journey reading these books. So basically they just talk about a few kids who are trapped inside a maze and they have to get out of it. That's just the first book. At this point I would like to warn you that there will be spoilers for the Maze Runner in this video, so you have been warned. The first book talks about children, about teenagers, 17, 18 years of age, who are trying to break out of a maze using primitive weapons which they've created, living in a place called the Glade, which is the center of the maze, and they have to try to find the exit. So later on in the second book, they come to know that they were being experimented upon by an external organization called Wicked. The entire book is placed in a long time in the future, which is I think maybe 200 or 500 years in the future, where a big virus has broken out due to heat flares in the sun, and the earth is scorching hot. and a big virus has broken out and it's infecting every human. The people put into that maze were immunes, and they are immune to the virus from birth, and they're also exceptionally smart. So they were just put under a test to see how to go through, how they will complete the maze, and how fast they will fight off challenges, how they will mourn the dead, all that kind of stuff. In the third book, they realize all of this and they are infuriated, and they want to go attack the people who did it to them. The organization Wicked was the one who did it to them, and they didn't feel like they were test subjects. They used to get mad when they were called the subjects. That is just wrong. Humans are not your guinea pigs. Want to use guinea pigs? Don't use guinea pigs either. No testing on animals. Try in theory, and only if your theory is solidified, test on humans. And if there are casualties, stop immediately. Well, Wicked didn't follow that rule. They kept throwing children into the maze and trying to see how they will face against these horrible monsters who come out at night called Grievers. A little point I'd like to make here is that the Maze Runner series is also an entire movie series, so you can go ahead and watch it out. I think Kill Order has not been made, but The Death Cure definitely has, and you can go ahead and check that out. So in the Kill Order, it basically shows the past about how Wicked was the actual organization who had instantiated this spread of the virus. They were the ones who created it for quote-unquote population control, showing that so long in the future the Earth's population is well over 15 billion, and they needed to stop it. So they manually created a horribly dangerous virus that makes people go mad, and injected it into some villagers, and that spread like wildfire, and it got out of their control. They didn't even have a proper antidote for it. They thought they could contain it, but they couldn't. So this is a very small summary of the Maze Runner series. If you want a more in-depth summary of every single book, I have done a review on each of them where I go deep into every single book story without revealing any spoilers. Links to all of that are in the description down below. So now, let's eliminate all the choices one by one in my categories, obviously. So I think the competitors which I'm going to be placing down for the Maze Runner is the Maze Runner versus the Artemis Fowl series, the Hunger Games series, the Divergent series, and the Six of Crows / Grishaverse series. So first of all, how to separate it from the Grishaverse series? Super easy. The Grishaverse series is the most uncommon out of all of them because it is completely fantasy, completely unbelievable in a whole different world. So that can be pushed out of the picture. Now we are left with the Maze Runner, Artemis Fowl, Divergent, and the Hunger Games. Now here's where it gets a little bit hard. Now some good competitors for this series, the Maze Runner, have been put forth. There's Artemis Fowl, there is the Divergent series, and the Hunger Games series. Now again, I think the odd one out of all of this is the Artemis Fowl series, because again it comes under a little bit of a more realistic category, because you can entirely believe that happening. Like I said, Artemis Fowl is a criminal mastermind, a young kid who managed to uncover a hidden race underground and defeated them at every single turn until they actually became friends and worked together for the betterment of society. He went from being a cold-blooded criminal mastermind to a warm person who was ready to sacrifice himself in the end, which he did. So it's just a journey of him from being 12 years old, cold-blooded, to above the age of 18 and a strong, nice individual. So that can be removed because they do show that the race hidden underground has greater technology than we can ever imagine, and they know how to hide themselves very clearly. Again, like the Harry Potter world, I said you can believe that they are there, which I would put it under the more realistic category, so that's out. Now the remaining opponents for this book are the Maze Runner, the Divergent series, and the Hunger Games series. Now, to exclude the Divergent series, out of both of these, I feel the Divergent series is the one which relies the most on technology and futuristic well-being of the planet Earth. They've shown how, I think Chicago it was, has turned into a complete ruin and has been split into factions so that people stay in order. That seems very real, very similar to the plot that the Hunger Games has, because America has become extremely small and turned into Panem, and each of the people are split into districts so that they don't go around fighting. Similar is for Divergent. But the main difference here is Divergent relies heavily upon technology, whereas in the Hunger Games it's a little bit more primitive with bows and arrows and all those kind of stuff, until the technology is introduced later on in the book, which for the same happens in Maze Runner. So I can immediately remove Divergent because it's a sci-fi fiction. Now we're left with the Hunger Games and the Maze Runner. Now here are a few pros and cons of both these books. The Hunger Games. Now for the pros of this book, again a very believable scenario that soon enough the world will plunge into chaos. We won't be able to stop it. Violence will spread extremely fast and someone will come and take absolute power of the remaining people in the world and we'll just be tortured till we die. So that's what comes under the Hunger Games series. Though this Hunger Games series gave a more deep meaning into like a person's emotions and how they behave under pressure and how they start to grow into each other and how people come together, band together to fight against tyrants. As Dumbledore said to Harry Potter, tyrants everywhere know that among all the people they suppress, someone will come and fight against them. They are always on the lookout for that person. So that's the whole plot of the Hunger Games series. Katniss Everdeen and all of her rebel friends stand up against President Snow and the Capitol. And they win in the end. Whereas the cons of this book are, one, it's way too gory. Like the torture scenes and the fight scenes, the bloody scenes are quite heavy on a young mind. So below the age of 15 and 14, you're just going to be thinking about that all the time. Because I personally was like, how did they do that? Maybe that's just me. For the Maze Runner, the pros now I can give you a few. One, it shows how you can work together, the efforts of teamwork. Then it also shows how much you build a comradeish feeling with your friend. I think the word is camaraderie. I don't pronounce that. So how you can build a good friendship and how you mourn each other when you work together and have stayed together for so long. So it teaches you about all those different morals. Plus, it's an amazing, thrilling adventure. The Maze Runner actually shows you how well James Dashner is as a writer. The story which he has compiled through all of these 4 books is one of the most influential series on me, which I felt invoked my deepest emotions. Like I was actually mad at certain parts of this book, like why is this happening? This is wrong. Whereas in the Hunger Games I was like, okay, another one dead. He's dead. Hey, he's alive. That was basically my feel of the book. Whereas in the Hunger Games, my strongest emotions were evoked like, no, don't do that, do this. Do that, don't do this. So in the Maze Runner, I was like, do this all the time. I was like, why is this happening? So this made me feel a little angry at parts, and this one just made me feel sad because so many people were lost in the Hunger Games series. Whereas in the Maze Runner series, it's all about teamwork and how they do come out in the end. Only a few actual important characters die. So now, finally, to push out the Hunger Games below the Maze Runner series, which is again a controversial thing to do, it's just my opinion completely. You can have a much better opinion than mine, obviously, because you're entitled to your opinion. So the Maze Runner series, for my part, had less deaths and less gore. That's what pushes it up, nothing less, nothing more. Just the gore. That's such a bad rhyme. So Maze Runner can be put up here and at my number 1 spot, in which you can believe and not believe at the same time. My reason for saying that is because you can believe that this can happen in the future, but secondly, you can't believe how a government agency is so powerful that they send children into a maze to be tortured to death and watch them, record them, and judge their emotions on what they're going to do. The children are guinea pigs, they are test subjects. So I for one can't believe that. On that note, thank you so much for watching this breakdown of the Maze Runner series. I hope you enjoyed it, and if I convinced you, go ahead and just grab Maze Runner right now. I just promise you won't regret it. It's just my opinion, though you should remember that. If you have any other different suggestions for any other books, down in the comments, I'll be waiting for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I might be inducted into the maze because I am immune. No, I'm not saying that. Goodbye, guys.